Good morning, everybody. Good morning to another beautiful weekend. Let's go. And you're not going to believe this. Yeah, this is a pretty rare sight right here. Hardly ever get them anymore. This is a old America West bird, and you're not going to believe this either. This is a 320. Yeah, how about that? I haven't seen a 320 in a while. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another stick shift. And yeah, 320 on the West Coast is a rare thing to see. Most of the time, they're flying around on the East Coast. Besides being a shorter airplane compared to its bigger sibling, the 321, it's also got a few key features that make it a little bit special. One good example would be the water tank. Now, the water tank on the 319 and the 321 are located in the aft cargo pit, behind the bulk cargo pit. On the 320, though, it's located in the forward cargo pit, or to be more precise, behind the forward cargo compartment. There's a panel there. But the real interesting thing is that the servicing panel is still located in the back of the airplane. I think they did this for center of gravity or CG purposes, weight and balance. But regardless of that, it does the same job. The tank capacity is about 200 liters or 53 US gallons. The panel I froze on earlier was a drain and an overflow port for the water tank. Another feature the 320 has is overwing exits. To be specific, 2 overwing hatches. Now here's the interesting part. You might actually see the 320 with different configurations and different exit hatches, as well as 319s and 321s, because this is very dependent on interior seating configuration. Matter of fact, I'll point that out to you on a 321 later on. But bottom line is, the more seats you have in the airplane, the more exits you need to have in an airplane. Overall, most 320 aircraft are configured like this, with 2 overwing exit hatches. It's also a nice way to kind of identify the airplane or to recognize that, hey, that's a 320. Wait, am I on a wrong flight? Oh no! This must be another Snowball Express. It is! I gotta check the schedule. Look at that. That is so cool. Again, just like last week, like a rerun. That's funny, but this time it's decorated a little bit differently. Still pretty. Look at that. That's great. All right, let's get the setup. Now, if you're wondering what the Snowball Express is, I posted this last week on last week's episode. It so happened we had another Snowball Express. It's the Gary Sinise Foundation that partners up with an airline, and they take the families and the children of the fallen soldiers to Orlando, to Disneyland. Oh, wait a minute, hold on. I made this mistake last time. Not Disneyland, Disney World. All right, guys, let's see now. Let's get the setup. We're going to make sure everything's A-OK, making sure the airplane is nice and safe, everything is secure, just like any other airplane. We'll run through the parameters, do our thing, and then walk through the cabin. Check out all the cool decorations they put up. Let's see now, I was walking through and I noticed 2 bulbs out, which is super easy to change. Here's the other one. I already got the panel down. Very easy. Again, this is an old airplane. Still has the old lights, fluorescent tubes, but yeah, it is what it is. They haven't upgraded this one, but yeah, my partner is already going to get a new bulb, and I'll take the panel down all the way, and I'll go take that one down as well. Easy. While I waited for the new light to show up, I just took a little stroll and enjoyed the decorations of the aircraft. The kids are going to definitely love this one. And there you go. Lights are fixed. Easy. Let's go. Now we stand by. It's always weird to see 2 hatch, overwing hatch exits. Not used to it. And just like last week, we're going to go walk up to the terminal and check out all the beautiful decorations that they had set up for this particular flight. And it was pretty nice.
To be able to do this, and we like to have memories as well, so we need one more picture. So we're going to have everybody get down here in front and take a group photo And then we will send you on your way to Disney World. And one more time, thank you so much for being here. Have a lot of fun.
Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, this particular flight was not going directly to MCO. There's still more people they were going to pick up. So this flight was actually going to go to New Orleans first. And then from New Orleans, it was going to go to Orlando. So yeah. There it goes. First is going to stop at New Orleans, pick up some more kids, and off to MCO. Orlando, Disney World. And look who's waiting there. You got Santa. I love it. What a great thing. It was such a pleasure and an honor to be a part of this, making sure this airplane is safe to go for such a wonderful trip and for such a good cause. And it's not only my carrier that does this kind of stuff. A lot of the big major carriers, they do charitable work for many, many communities. Not only do they give us employment, give us a job, obviously, but they also help within these kind of foundations and organizations. Hard-working men and women just like this gather and they try to help as much as possible to make other people's lives better. They do it with joy and they do it with passion. They do it for the spirit of kindness and love. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment, but we got to get back to work. I got another airplane coming in. Let's go. Next office. All right, this one is an originator. Just came up from the hangar. Just gonna do the same thing. Do a quick little double check, make sure everything's okay. Funny, went from a very old 320 to a very brand new 321 Neo. Ah. The swirl on the spinner wore off. It's all right, it's not a big deal. At this point, I think most of you guys know what the swirl for the spinner is. Just as a refresher, it's there simply to give ground personnel a visual reference that the engine is still spinning or running. That's it. That's all it's there for. Now, you have people out there on the internet talking about the spinner is there to deter birds. Well, I have yet to see any kind of scientific evidence or proof of this. I highly doubt a bird is going to see an aircraft flying close to 130 miles an hour while taking off or landing and see a swirl on an engine with high RPM. Birds have a flight path, and so do aircraft. Once in a while, they cross paths, and yeah. Engine 1, bird 0. Unless it's a flock, then that's a bad day. At one point or another, they'll repaint it. Supposed to look like that. But over time, the wind, the elements, they wear it out. But yeah, these kind of things are just cosmetic items. It will be addressed later on. Well, just double checked everything. Looking good, looking good. But I remember somebody asking if they wanted to see some of the emergency equipment, so why not? Emergency equipment is throughout the whole aircraft, and they're usually designated by placards. But one thing somebody wanted to see is what they actually have in these equipment cases. There's a couple of them. This is the first aid kit, as you can see. Your basic necessities, right? Obviously, I'm not going to open it because it is sealed. Once the seal is broken, I have to replace it. Let's check out the one in the back. Before we go, obviously, we got a megaphone in case the communications go down. Flight attendants can use a megaphone to communicate with the passengers. And you got your portable oxygen bottles. This is in case somebody gets sick. And you got fire extinguishers. We check for the seals, make sure the gauge is good. That's a personal breathing device. There you go, you can see right there. You just put that on your head in case there is smoke or fumes. Let's keep on going. I'll show you some more back there. There, you got some more right here. More oxygen bottles right here. And since this is infant life vests, I believe so, yeah. These are infant life vests. So, there you go. And then you should have, where is it? There's a big raft. Big old raft right over here. This big thing, see? That's a massive capacity. More fire extinguishers, more oxygen bottles, and just to remind you, this is an ETOPS rated aircraft, hence why you have so much emergency equipment. But most airplanes do have this kind. Let's see, I believe this is the raft kit. Yeah, these are the kits, the survival kits, just in case. You also have a fire bag in case your phone or electronic device catches fire. You throw it in there, put it out. Your emergency locator transmitter right there. This is the portable one. Flight attendants can take it with them. Another megaphone, another first aid kit. You also got a defibrillator right there. We'll check the seals. Make sure the little green light comes on. It should blink. There it is. See? That's good. And then you got this big old thing. This is called the EMK, Emergency Medical Kit. This thing's got a lot of things in there. Here, let's check it out. Yeah, there's pretty much your basics. So in case anybody is having some kind of medical emergency on board, yeah, there you go. And we check these very often, so I'm not going to open it, obviously, because if you do open it, you got to replace the whole thing. There's also the thing that reads your heart pressure and blood pressure. It's all in there. I'm not a doctor. But anyway, get up there. There. And what else we got up here? Let's see. Oh, the grab and go bags. I think this is where you get hazmat stuff. But throw it in there. And there should be a green bag in there too. There you go. I can't remember what the green bag had in there. Like more gloves, I believe. Auxiliary. I don't know what this is. Anyway, plenty of emergency equipment. We just want to make sure the seals are there and everything is proper. Oh, and this thing. I've showed you what this thing is, right? It's for us. Well, not for us. It's for flight attendants. I can't believe I looked this up. $80 for that. Nuts. But anyway, you also got more emergency equipment everywhere. See? It's all over the place. Anywho, that's it. To whoever wanted to see it, there it is. All right, I'm gonna walk through the rest of the cabin, make sure everything's a-okay, and then move on to the next one. Let's go. So before we leave, somebody else also asked another good question, and they said, what is the big hump on the back of the airplane? That's your Wi-Fi antenna. This is how the airplane is able to talk to a satellite and give you Wi-Fi. And this is not to be confused with SATCOM. Satellite communication is a different system. Wi-Fi antenna is a different system. SATCOM is a very different antenna. The big dome you see is strictly for Wi-Fi. So to simplify this, there's another radome on top of the fuselage. It houses an antenna. The antenna is capable of transmitting and receiving. It's talking to satellites. And there's plenty of them out there. I'll give you two good examples. You have a company called Viasat. You also have a company called Starlink. They use a K-band system to provide wireless broadband connectivity. There's also wireless access points within the cabin, throughout the whole cabin, to give you good connectivity. Matter of fact, here's a good colleague of mine that actually was changing one, and here's a good representation of what it looks like underneath that radome. After they get done pulling the circuit breakers, putting the collars, making sure every safety equipment is on par, then they use special equipment to get on top of the fuselage, and now it's time to remove the radome itself. It's surrounded by screws right there, as you can see. Once the radome is removed, now the antenna itself is exposed, plus the assembly that holds it to the fuselage itself. This is actually a very dangerous job right here. Not only are you up top right there, but don't worry, they're surrounded by a very good safety cage, but the testing portion of this job is very dangerous. When the technicians are done completing the job, they have to move the aircraft outside away from a lot of things. Matter of fact, the aircraft cannot be surrounded by anything within 96 feet, around and above the antenna. That's how powerful it is. Then and only then they can actually test the power of the antenna and making sure that it is connecting to a satellite. Reasoning for a majority of the repairs that you're seeing is because the antenna or the dome itself is on the top of the aircraft, and it's also getting exposed to a lot of the elements to the outside of the aircraft. Time to time, the seals around the radome do get deteriorated, and you do get some liquid or water getting seeped into that area, which causes corrosion. Or sometimes just the antenna fails itself, and you get no Wi-Fi. But regardless of that, that's how it looks like. Enjoy. Now you know pretty much most of the information on how the Wi-Fi antenna works and what it looks like underneath that dome. And that's pretty much on all aircraft that you see. It looks exactly like that. Moving on. Next office. Oh, looks like it came in with a little fault. Forward cargo heat. Okay, let's go to the troubleshooting manual and do the test. As it goes with line maintenance, it's an unpredictable environment. You never know what you're going to get, ever. Sometimes you get perfectly good airplanes, which majority of the time that's what it is. Airplanes come in perfectly good and they go out perfectly good. But once in a while, you get faults and we have to address the faults. In this particular scenario, we got a forward cargo heat fault. Now, to remind you, cargo holds can be heated. The reasoning to heat the cargos is sometimes because we carry certain objects or animals within the cargo holds. We had to perform a cabin temperature control test because that's what the TSM calls for. The TSM standing for Troubleshooting Manual. It's a pretty lengthy test, about 5 minutes or so. Once the parameters are set, we engage the test, and what it does is cycles all the trim valves within everything got to do with cabin temperature control. As you can see right there, the needles are moving back and forth, but what we're focused on is the one at the bottom left corner. That's the one that was not moving. That was the problem child. The forward cargo trim air valve, that's what was malfunctioning. We ran the test like 4 times, even turned the whole airplane off and on just to get it reset, but the darn thing just did not want to move. At this point, we're running out of options, and now we have to take a look at the minimum equipment list, deferral. Now, this is something I don't want you to get nervous about, guys. This is happening all the time within aviation. Minimum equipment list, MEL, is used all the time because this is not a flight safety critical item. The aircraft can be dispatched safely and get to its destination without certain components working. Now, I've talked about this before. This is approved by the FAA, by the ICAO, and the manufacturer. But it comes with stipulations and restrictions in this particular scenario. Having the forward cargo heating not available, the restriction is that you cannot load live animals within the forward cargo pit, which was completely fine because there were no live animals scheduled to go to that destination. So we had no choice. In order to make that flight on time and safely, we had to defer that item. You're going to see a trend of this on this particular video because it happened a couple of times. But regardless of that, trust me, no maintenance personnel will ever dispatch an aircraft that is unsafe. If it's anything that's flight safety critical, trust me, you are not flying. That airplane will be grounded. I will personally ground it myself. And so will the pilots. So don't worry. Again, this is all in legality. Okay, moving on. Back to the wide bodies. Alrighty, let's go. 777 time. You know the drill. Getting it ready. It's gonna go, you know where. goes every day. Heathrow. Let's get to cracking. Do a quick walk around, go upstairs. So a little point of reference, this is a 777-300, and somebody asked, how do you tell the difference? Well, the 777-300 obviously is a bit longer, but on the main landing gear, you'll see this big actuator. This is a hydraulic strut, but the specific name is called the semi-levered main gear actuator. Not only does it function as a tilt actuator for the gear, but it also assists the aircraft in takeoff rotation. It will assist the aircraft to take off in shorter runways, as well as prevent any kind of tail strikes. Another difference between the 777-200 and the 300, the 300 has actually bigger wheels on the main landing gear, as well as the nose landing gear. Let's pause it right here for a quick second, and I want to explain to you what those cables are. The one that's pink and the one that's yellow. The pink one actually leads to the fuel quantity indication system. It goes into the fuel tank and it talks to the probes. It's got very particular shielding around it. Thermax, I believe, if I remember correctly. And the yellow one goes to flight control surfaces, to be specific, spoilers. You have to remember, this aircraft is fly-by-wire. As you can see, they're exposed to the elements, but it's only when it's on the ground. When the aircraft is taken off and the gear has retracted back into the wheel well, all of that area is closed. Okay, somebody reported a panel loose by the floorboard by 2221. Let's see. Oh, these things. Oh my God. These things are the bane of my existence. The 777 bottom vent covers here. And look at that one. Look what else we found. A floor track cover too. Don't worry, I'll find where that goes. So yeah, these things like to pop out a lot because passengers sometimes kick them around, and they're kind of, I don't know, just personally bad design. They slip in, they hook up. But yeah, anyway, that's what it looks like down there, nice and dusty. But yeah, that usually gets cleaned at heavy checks, but putting these things back in is a pain. Held down by two little screws down there. But yeah, they're just like ventilation panels, or if you want to call them dado panels, kind of like a dado panel. Yeah, these things are never fun to put back in. Anyway, gonna need both my hands on this one. We'll put this back in. But yeah, one thing to look for on 777s, these things always pop out. Yeah, there's a little clip in there. We'll slip it in, tighten it up. That'd be good. No worries. There you go. But one pops out, then the other pops out. Then you gotta adjust them all. Fun. There you go. It just locks into place like that. Same with this one. There. See? But yeah, you gotta look for these things. Anyway, we're good on this one. Good. Then you got stuff like this. See? It won't stay up. It's supposed to stay up. It's alright, we'll just tighten this up. Not a big deal. Right here. Just give it a little tighten. See? Easy. Maybe a little bit more. Much better. Works as advertised. Well, folks, we are looking good. Good. No problems, no issues. I'll get the APU up and running here a little bit. Where is it? Up here. And just cycle through the parameters as always. Just make sure everything's okay. There you go. Say cheese for the camera. I won't bore you with the rest of it. This is a good airplane. On to the next one. Before I left, I had to perform a quick little operational check, which I had to access the E&E compartment, the Avionics bay. Initially, I just wanted to give you guys a little tour of what it looks like, but then this caught my eye, and I said, you know what, let's talk about this. This is called the FCDC, Flight Control DC Power. As the label says, it's a battery. There are 3 of these units, left, center, and right. Their primary purpose is to supply electrical power to the flight control electrical buses. They're powered by the PMGs, permanent magnet generators. Now there's 3 modes of operation here, primary, secondary, and backup. In normal operation, the aircraft will use its own engine generators to supply power to these systems. It will take the AC power from the generators and convert it into DC. Now, if you have power failure or no power coming in from either of the PMGs, it's going to go into secondary mode. Most of the time, it's in secondary mode when the aircraft is on the ground and the engines are off. Allows some relays to relax and the captain's flight instrument bus will take over. But let's say you lost complete PMG power and you lost the captain's flight instrument bus at the same time. This is where the relay will re-energize and now you're in backup mode. This permits power to be used straight from the hot battery bus. Basically what you're looking at here is a backup to a backup to a backup. Triple redundancy system. This airplane is phenomenal. It's when they built the 777, they basically threw everything at it and the kitchen sink. This is why this aircraft is so reliable. This is why mechanics love it. This is why pilots love it. The level of backup systems and safety factors in this airplane is just mind-blowing. I mean, the thing has 9 hydraulic pumps. 9! Crazy! Oh, I forgot to tell you, we also had to go back into the bulk cargo pit because one of the fan air valves for the lavatory and ventilation system was misbehaving, so another reset. Gave me an opportunity to show you what it looks like in here. That right there is the outflow valve. Well, one of them, the one in the back. The big black tanks on my right, those are the waste tanks. There's 3 of them. I believe I've talked about that before. The white tank onto the left, that's the water tank. Reference my older videos and I go into much detail on how the system works and the capacities of those tanks. And yes, I know it's a big hole in the side of the airplane and most people think, oh, is that area pressurized? Yeah, it's actually pressurized. The outflow valve always stays pretty much closed or a very small gap opening when it's flying, but on the ground, it's fully open. Those 2 black boxes right there, right on top of each other, those are galley chillers. And as I said earlier, the white tanks right there, those are the water tanks. Okay, we're done here. Let's go walk our airplane out. Here we go. Off she goes. That was it for that day's shift. On to tomorrow morning. Grab your coffee. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Ooh, it's a little chilly this morning. Getting cold in LA. All right, start our day off. Beautiful Max. Let's go. Look at that. So a funny little story for you guys. So back in the old days, I used to have an old crew chief that used to give funny names to airplane components. The horizontal stabilizer was the little wings in the back. The landing gear struts were called, he used to call them landing legs. Chocks he used to call stopping sticks. Engines he would call pushing pipes. That always stuck with me. Oh man. So far so good. Nice and clean. Okay, let's see now. Let's get this APU going. Engage the generator. There he goes. Come alive. Time for you to go to work. I can't remember who asked, but somebody wanted to hear the cargo fire alarm test. There it is. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. The APU fire alarm test, basically, and the engine fire alarm test sound exactly the same thing. If the pilots get this alarm, all they have to do is simply press those buttons. As you can see, it goes into armed mode, and then lift the guarded switch, press that button, and it discharges the fire extinguishing agent. If you're curious what type of extinguishing agent that they use, it's Halon 1301. Here's a fun little party trick. Let's do the servo motor test on the throttle quadrant. Idle, engage auto throttle. Watch this. This is a fun one. Use the force. Just joking. Very good. Oh man. So this is part of auto flight, which falls under ATA chapter 22. And once again, what you saw me doing there is the auto throttle servo test. Pretty self-explanatory, I think, but I'll give you the technical mumbo jumbo behind it. The auto throttle function receives input from the airplane system, sensors, and flight deck switches to calculate and control engine thrust automatically. Auto throttle can operate in many configurations, on the ground for takeoff and during flight. Matter of fact, it actually controls a lot of sequences, everything from takeoff, climb, cruise, descent, approach, flare, and the famous go-around. That's when pilots engage the toga. No, not the sorority toga, but toga as in takeoff and go-around. The auto throttle function can do this automatically, but most of the time pilots will literally slam the throttles forward all the way and go yee-haw, and you get another chance to land. The whole point behind this thing is to relieve the pilots from extra duties, so the computer will basically do it on its own. Automation. But if they have to, they can disengage the system at any time and go full manual mode and control the throttle by hand. All right, let's stop playing around. In any case, we're looking good. Status is clean. Hydraulics are good. Engine oils are good. I'm happy. Come on to the next one. And don't worry, we're not going to leave you hanging. As always. Too close for missiles. Switching to guns. Never gets old. Let's get out of here. On to the next one. So let's take a look at a pushback. And let's talk about how it's actually done properly. Obviously, you need lots of practice, but in general, there's 6 basic rules to really follow. Rule number 1, slow and steady. Control your throttle. And when I say control your throttle, control the throttle of the tug. You do not need to be in a hurry. Just go at your own pace. Rule number 2, minor adjustments to the wheel when you're driving the tug. It does not take much to correct an angle of the turn. If you overdo the angle of the turn, you're going to jackknife the tow bar and potentially break it or run into the airplane. Number 3, steering. When you turn the wheel to the left, that's where the tail is going to go. So turn the wheel in the direction you want the tail to go. If I turn left, the tail is going to go left. If I turn right, the tail is going to go right. Number 4, pay attention to your wing walkers. They are there to prevent you from hitting anything. Number 5, do not go past the unemployment line. That line right there. That is the maximum steering angle. If you go beyond that line, you're going to break the nose landing gear. Now, in most cases, the tow bars do have shear pins that will break before you break the airplane. But if you keep on going past that line, you are going to break the nose landing gear and its steering mechanisms internally. And the most obvious, rule number 6, don't hit anything. If you have a building that's too close, or an airplane passing by, or a vehicle that's going by, yeah, you don't want to hit these things. But overall, those are your 6 basic rules of pushing back aircraft. Now, does it happen? Yes, of course it happens. Human error is a factor, but if you follow these simple basic rules, you'll never hit an airplane and you'll always have a successful pushback. Oh, and by the way, you don't always have to be perfectly on the center line. It's okay if it's like a few inches here and there. Anyway, that's about it. So, a lot of you guys always ask some of the lines. I've talked about that one. That's your unemployment line. I'm just joking. That's the maximum steering angle. You go beyond that angle, you're gonna break the nose gear. But somebody else asked about this line. The Airbus also has it. Obviously what it says right there, ingestion. When that engine is running, anything beyond this line is danger zone. You guys also ask, on the ground, why does this say the 737 hazard? Right there, also a danger zone. So, because you have air conditioning packs right here, which also suck in air, but on top of that, the engine is right there. So, if it's running, basically, well, first of all, if it's running, don't be in front of the engine. Don't go beyond that ingestion line I told you about. And when the packs are running right here, be mindful of raising your head, because there was an incident, I believe. I think it was a lady that lost a hat. Or maybe it was a wig. I can't remember. But yeah, it got sucked up in there. No harm to the airplane, but I'm sure a mechanic had to come out there and fish it out. In any case, that's what it's there for. This one's good. It's a quick turn. It's a beautiful day today. This thing is perfectly fine. No faults, no issues, no problems. Came in from Philly and going back up to Miami. Happy airplane. All right, not much for me to do here. Enjoy. On to the next one. So this is the CFM LEAP 1A equipped on an Airbus 321. And I'm talking about a bunch of the ports and openings, right? For example, that one right there is for your EEC cooling, but not every single model has it. The new one, it's a cap. There's no holes. These holes are for your nose cowling intake anti-ice system. To clarify, it's the exhaust for the nose cowling anti-ice. That panel's to service the oil, obviously. Let's see now, what else we got? Up here, that little slit right there, that hole, there's a flag that pops out in case one of these latches, or the number one latch right there, is not all the way latched. You'll get an indication in the flight deck and you'll get a flag that pops out. The flag looks like this, and you'll also get an indication within the ECAM in the flight deck, telling you your fan cowling is not properly latched. Showing you this before, that's the starter valve. That's how we turn that to manually open up the starter valve. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, it's this. And I'm sure most of you have seen this video circling around the internet, probably seen it 1,000 times. Yeah, everybody else reposts it, but if you ever see this, guess who that is? Yeah, that's me right there. And I'm just opening up the starter valve in order to get air into the starter to turn the engine. That's about it. Matter of fact, I made a whole dedicated video explaining this. Anyway, that's what it's for. Moving on. That's to check the IDG service levels. But here's a question for you. What's that for? What is this port for? I bet you most people won't know. It's also an option. It comes as an option. Ours don't have the option, but there's an option that can go inside of here. No, don't worry. I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'll give you the answer. It's an option for an interphone jack. Basically, a headset. You hook up a headset there, and you're able to have communication from the ground to the flight deck. Now, you ask yourself, why do you need an interphone jack at the engine? Well, for this. And obviously, I'm not wearing one because, like I said, it's an option. Airlines can pick and choose what options they want on certain configuration of aircraft. My carrier opted out on this one. They said, you know what? No, we really don't need an interphone jack on the engine. So I'll utilize the person up front, another technician that's going to be standing there. They're going to give me hand signals. But our other engines, such as our V2500 engines, as well as our CFM56, as well as the GE90s and the Rolls-Royces, they all have interphone jacks right at the engine. Now, are they all fully functioning and working properly? Yeah, well, I'm going to leave that for another day of conversation. All right, let's keep going. And we're back to the big boys. All right, 777, this time it's a 200. There you got the pretty Rolls Royces right there. As always, another U-tops check. Make sure everything's A-okay. But then this thing's gonna get repositioned from international. We're sitting at 157. It's gonna get relocated to gate 43 over there. I'll do as much as I can over here, and then we'll go finish it up over there. So far, so good. The aircraft came in very early and it had lots of ground time. It was not supposed to leave until 9:30 that night, so they assigned some work packages to it. One of which was to change out the IDG oil and the filters, as well as the starter oil. And that's what you're going to be seeing here on this next clip. This is a Rolls-Royce Trent 800 engine, and the fan cowling being opened up like this, the starter and the IDG are located right underneath the fan cowling. This is very good for maintenance because it becomes very friendly and accessible. There's a couple of types of IDGs. This particular one has two filters. That's one, and here's the other one. There are IDGs out there that just have one filter. That right there is the drain plug. We already depressurized the IDG and we pulled the proper circuit breakers and safety devices are installed. And by the way, IDG standing for Integrated Drive Generator. This is the electrical power source. Going back to the starter, that is the fill plug, that is the sight glass. The next one is the overflow plug, and at the bottom is the drain plug plus the magnetic chip detector. So all this is going to get drained. We're going to reservice everything.
We're just going to dry run it afterwards?
Yeah. you go. Brand new filters installed, everything's safety wired, and now we have to service the IDG full of oil. The IDG takes the same type of oil as the engine oil. There's a sight glass on the IDG for oil levels. I didn't get a chance to capture that, but I'm going to go upstairs and look at the parameters and confirm from there. Up next, servicing the starter. All of these plugs that we are removing all have O-rings. When we do these kind of procedures, all the O-rings, the old ones, get discarded. We install brand new ones. Also take note of the wording on the side of the starter. Notice the starter can be rated for different type of aircraft. Look, on the left it says A330 and on the right side it says 777. Also pay attention to the orientation. Look, it designates from left engine to right engine because engines are slightly cantered. I can grab this starter and install it on the other engine, but it will be oriented as slightly different. It will be on a different angle. So this is why we have to pay attention where we are servicing the oil to, because it is possible to over-service the product. All said and done, all the job requires now is a dry run. A dry run is basically turning the engine with no fuel and no ignition. All said and done, I got the okay from the guys downstairs. They said no leaks noted, all good, you can shut it down. And as you can see, the engine begins to spool down once I take it off the starter mode. This is being done in manual mode, so usually it does it automatically. The starter will cut out, but when we're doing it in manual mode and forcing it to do this, I have to manually close the starter. I didn't get a chance to capture the departure of the 777 because I had another 321 coming in for a turnaround. Came in from Boston and going right back out to Boston. It was such a quick turn that I didn't even get a chance to film anything in the flight deck or the cabin, but it is what it is. That was the end of this day, and then we're going to go on to the next day. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another day. Bit of a slow day today, but it's all right. We're gonna head out to International. We got a 737 coming in. It's beautiful sunset right here. Speaking of 737s, all right, let's go. My airplane had not gotten there yet, so I took the opportunity to do a little bit of plane spotting. So there you go, a beautiful 737 MAX taking off from Alaska. And when I looked back, guess what I saw? The Queen herself. Yes, oh yes. This was absolutely gorgeous. Enjoy this. she is. There she is. Come on over, darling. That's my airplane. Come on over. Get you all fixed up. Get you all good to go. Back in our favorite hiding spot. Nobody can find me here. Not like anybody's looking. Looking good so far. This one turns around, I think. Not sure where it goes. I gotta check the schedule, but I know it came from PVR. So far, so good. Like I said, easy schedule today, not much happening. Well, we're good. This one's looking good. Oils are good. Hydraulics are good. Yeah. Oh, you know, I remember somebody asking, I can't remember who it was. They asked, what are these things for right here? See these? Looks like some kind of handrails, right? Well, actually, it's because the flight deck is so cramped in the 737 and the seats also recline. So if the FO or the pilot or the captain, see they have it right here as well, they decided to recline the seat, which you can do from here. Watch. Recline that. It doesn't hit the circuit breakers, so the circuit breakers are not obstructed. That's all that's for. See it? Oh yeah, that's all that's for. Anyway, this one is good. Stand by until this leaves, and then we got a couple of more terminating aircraft. All I have to do is just basically oil. Cool. Yep, I spoke too soon. Do you see what the problem is? Right there, look at the sidewall lighting. A whole section of it went out for some reason. Time to troubleshoot. I went through the troubleshooting manual, or as Boeing likes to call it, a FIM, fault isolation manual, and it told me to reset a particular circuit breaker for that side of the system, which is the left side of the lighting. It didn't help. I tried everything that it told me. It boiled down to a relay or an actual light ballast because some of these things are connected in series. But once again, running out of time, the airplane is getting ready to go. And this is why I said we have deferral programs just for this. So the hardest working mechanic in all airlines goes back to work. MEL, M-E-L. I had no choice. I had to defer it. But it's not a flight critical item. And on top of that, the good news was that the flight is a night flight, so they're not really going to need lights anyway. Most of the people are going to be sleeping on board anyway. So on deferral it went. I had no choice. These are the decisions that some mechanics have to make sure that you make your flight and making sure that you are safe. I told you, if it's a flight critical safety item, that airplane is not going anywhere. But if it's something like this, that the airplane can still fly, then it's unfortunate. It's a bit of a inconvenience to have no lights, but yes, the airplane can still go. That needs a little bit of oil. you go. That's good. All right. And then I think we got one more coming in. A 777 coming in that gate, coming from Heathrow. But yeah, this one stays here overnight. That's it. Almost done. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. This is the end of the road for this episode. And as I said, a beautiful 777 coming in here. And this one came in from Heathrow, and it's going to go out later on to Sydney, but night shift is going to take care of that. But as for my duties and my shift, I'm done. I hope you guys really enjoyed this one. I know it wasn't that exciting. I tried to pack as much as information as I can, all the things that I show you. But once again, don't hesitate to ask questions. Feel free to add your own input, and if I got anything wrong, don't ever hesitate to correct me. I will be always humbled, and I will always learn from you, which I always have. So thank you once again for watching. You guys are fantastic. I'll see you guys on the next adventure. Stig, signing out. Later.